What is up, everyone? It's Thomas with Real Broker here in St. Augustine, Florida, coming at you live every Wednesday at 8 p.m., going over the market stats, the news you know about if you think about buying, selling, or investing here in Northeastern Florida. And we're also doing a Q&A. So if you have any questions about anything I cover here, have any questions about certain local neighborhoods, what's the best tacos in the area, anything at all, throw them in the comments below. I'm here for you guys every Wednesday at 8 p.m. So let the questions fly, let the comments fly. If you have any just commentary on what I cover here, and I've got some really interesting stuff here tonight that I want to cover. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip the statistics this week. We are going to talk a little bit about it, but it's only just going to be cost of living stuff. Because I really like to get your guys' feedback on this and a lot of the stuff that I'm covering here this week. I think I think I'm gonna have some good stuff for you, and then I'm also probably gonna put out a separate video where I can like collect my thoughts, put them all down, and go over everything here. So what I first want to do is cover one of the news stories that I just came across that was very interesting, and it reminded me of a TV show I've been watching, Billions. I don't know if anyone's ever watched that, but this is the news story. Florida insurance companies steered money to investors while claiming losses, study says. The report was never given to lawmakers. So this is a pretty long report, but essentially what it says is that they've requested for the documents back in 2022, and they weren't able to give it. They weren't given the documents, which were public, after a 2-year release. Sorry, all these ads, unbelievable. But essentially, what they're saying is that here in the state of Florida, we are capped in terms of the profit that insurance companies can make at like 4.5%. There's been some more laws put into play to essentially say like insurance companies are here, you can make a little bit of money, but you can't make a whole bunch of money. So what these insurance companies did is then added like affiliate businesses that were surrounding, I guess, the insurance industry here in the state of Florida. So yeah, they can't make more profit than 4.5%, but what they can do is give the contracts to certain people with that are within their bubble, I guess. And it showed that for years that the insurance companies have been crying that they've been having losses, and in reality, they actually didn't have any losses. If you look at just their books, which new laws over the past couple of years in Florida said like, hey, insurance companies, you got to let us look at your books. Apparently, they're still making a profit, not a huge one, but a profit nonetheless. But then if you look at the affiliate businesses surrounding the insurance companies here in the state of Florida, they're making tons of profit, right? It's like a ridiculous amount for any type of business. So what they did is they jumped. The law in Florida says, hey, this is what it is. This is how much profit you can make, but it never outlines like the exceptions to the rules. So it's not technically illegal what they're doing, but what they are doing is essentially, jumping through some hoops to be able to move money over here, move money over there. There was even like one affiliate company of these insurance companies that pays for like a hunting lodge that's like $450,000 a year. It pays for that. So clearly, there is some mismanagement of funds when it comes down to this. And as a homeowner here in the state of Florida who pays her insurance, and also I hate insurance in general, health insurance, car insurance, whatever. I hate it all. I feel like it's all a scam. It's one of those things like where you got to pay for it until you like you're paying for it, and then you don't really need it until you need it, right? And then it's this. Obviously, then it's hopefully helpful, because then they're like, oh, we're not covering this, we'll cover this. Either way, not a big fan of insurance companies, but I live here in the state of Florida. My insurance has gone up slightly. It's not gone, dramatic like you've seen across the entire state. Northeastern Florida is a little bit more insulated than the rest of Florida when it comes down to that. I also don't live on the water. So it does bug you, right? Yeah, as someone who pays insurance here, right? It's like, okay, so these guys are making good money, and they're able to send this money to these affiliate businesses so that they can really hide their profits in these other businesses while crying wolf. And that's what that whole article goes over. So I don't know if it's entirely true, right? But it is kind of odd to me when you read that article and they outline some things, just like what's going on. So I'll have that in the details here below. Also, side note, if you do want to join my weekly newsletter, sent out every Friday, it has all the news links in here. Also has like a little deep dive analysis on some statistics about the real estate market. Also has things to do. Also has our new construction deal of the week as well. So plug for the newsletter. If you want to get it, leave me a comment below and just leave your email, and I'll throw you on there. But I thought that was a really interesting news story. So, yeah, what do you guys think? Once again, insurance is like, it's the worst, the worst. It's probably like in terms of rankings, like if you're like an insurance adjuster, you're probably like just above how people consider like, we're probably just under like a used car salesman or car salesman in general, but realtors are under here, and then probably have insurance adjusters all the way up there. So either way, it's a crazy world we live in, guys. We got a couple people from Instagram. We got, it only shows me the users. We got Christopher. He says, "Hello, bro." What's up, Chris? How you doing, man? We also got John. John is a regular user on the show, or regular guest on the show, I guess you could say. Commenter. Shame on the insurance companies. They're crooks. I mean, that's obvious to me, unfortunately. And it's probably no different in any other state, right? Like, I mean, we just happen to have like these insurance companies that can cry wolf because we have these natural disasters, right? And I'm sure when those happen, they are hurting for money. But definitely doesn't make you feel good when you see an article like that and it's like, oh, well, they're just funneling their money to another company, like calling an expense, like, oh yeah, well, we had to pay this one consultant $150,000 to look through a couple documents. It's all in that article. It's very, very interesting. So if you want it, I can also email it to you as well. But we do have that newsletter, which I think is pretty good. In terms of a newsletter, I think it's pretty good. Either way, let's get on the next news story, guys. And if you're living here in the state of Florida, I think this is a really interesting one. Governor DeSantis' idea to eliminate property taxes may come with risks. So if you haven't heard, Governor DeSantis floated this idea during one of the, I guess, Doge committees, essentially saying that he's backing the idea of banning local governments from collecting property taxes. And for me, I don't think it's a terrible idea, right? He says property taxes are local, not state, so we need to do a constitutional amendment, requires 60% of voters to approve, to eliminate them, which he would support, or even reform or lower them. And essentially what he's saying is like, this is what we want to do because it's getting more expensive to live here in the state of Florida. Will that help or hurt? Hard to say because the local governments need to get their money from somewhere, right? I do have a problem with like, okay, hey, I'm buying this property. Let's say I own this property free and clear, and I still have to pay property taxes on it. So it's like, all right, either way, I'm always going to have a bill on this property no matter what. Where it's like when you buy a car, you pay taxes, you pay sales tax on the vehicle when you first purchase it. And once you're done financing it, or if you buy it cash, that's it. Yes, you still have insurance, right? But, and that's not, when you're driving around, you have to have it, right? Legally, you're supposed to have it. But, for the house, it's the opposite, right? Like, okay, so once you own the home free and clear, you don't need to have insurance, right? You just self-insure it yourself. So then you still have to pay property taxes. So I think one is more or less a choice, like, hey, I don't want to have insurance, but like property taxes you're always going to have to pay that. So I kind of agree with not having property taxes, but what this article points out and what is pretty obvious is that money is going to need to come from somewhere. So where is that coming from? Would that be an additional sales tax on real estate sales? Would that be just an additional sales tax in general? So like right now here in St. Augustine and St. Johns County, our sales tax is 6.5%. It's a 6% state tax, and then it's a 0.5% for our local tax. Where I think Duval County 7%, maybe 7.5%, and I think Flagler County 7.5%. So we're a little bit cheaper in terms of sales tax, but they're essentially saying like, hey, if this is something that we're considering, well, that sales tax is then going to go from 6 to 12, right? So it's going to double any purchases that you'd make because that revenue needs to come from somewhere. The interesting thing with that is, and it could fare better for us or worse, right? Because if we have a higher sales tax, a lot of our tax revenue then is more than likely coming from tourism. And I bet because we've had like another banner year of like, hey, we've had a whole bunch like record high tourism this past year. The year before that was record high tourism. The year before that was record high tourism. So that's one good thing is because if we have it as property or sales tax, that means that tourists essentially are, with their money that they've made in other states, are flipping the bill for our local governments. So I don't hate that idea. I think that's pretty cool, actually. And that's how St. Augustine pretty much operates. I think 30% of our tax base actually comes from the tourism in downtown St. Augustine and the beaches and all that good stuff. So not a terrible idea, but then here's the other caveat to that is that you are then victim to the ebbs and flows of tourism, right? Like, so let's say for whatever, let's say we get hit with major hurricanes back to back to back, devastates the entire state of Florida. Well, then we have, huge devastation throughout the state. Most people are going to be like, yeah, I want to go to Florida right now because, most of the state is destroyed in this scenario. And we have no, we have no revenue for our state. So hard to say. It's a double-edged sword there. Then again, if the property gets destroyed and no one wants to live there, you probably have no property taxes either. So, or at least no income. You could still charge property taxes. Doesn't mean someone's going to pay it. So, I don't know, guys. What do you think about this? I think this is a really interesting idea. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of interesting ideas out there right now of how things should, how the government should be worked and everything. Personally, just because I don't like property tax. I don't like having to pay a payment when you free and clear own something. I finance this property, so I'm going to finance it for 30 years probably. But when I'm done, it'd be nice not to pay property taxes. So what do you guys think? I'd really like to know. So let's see here. We got Scott. Scott says there should be no property tax. You can tax through other means, sales, etc., but it should never be tied to your home. And I agree, but I guess Scott, it's like, and this is, smarter person than me is probably gonna have to figure this out. But then what happens, like in the scenarios we just talked about, like, okay, it's a sales tax, and I'd assume just like the rest, St. Augustine here, probably the majority of Florida, a lot of their sales tax, if you're looking at where those dollars are coming from, probably at least 20%, we could say, is coming from tourism, right? Because they're coming here and spending their money. So if we have a dip in tourism, then we have a dip in tax revenue. I don't know. That's not a good thing. And what do? You can't plan for these natural disasters. But on the verse side, like there's a million ways this could go. But I personally believe, because I'm just not a big fan of government in general, and paying money into this system that I feel like just doesn't work for the majority of people. I don't feel like I want to pay property taxes. That'd be nice, You see people, you see, I mean, if you know history, like they were taxing tea, right? And they had the Boston Tea Party and threw tea over, and they had this huge riot and all this kind of stuff. And it's like now we're just like, hey, tax me more, give me more of those taxes, and it's crazy to me that everyone's okay with it. So get rid of all taxes except tourist tax. Well, now we're getting, I don't know, what would you call that? Libertarian, I guess you could say. We're getting pretty wild here. I'm not sure. It's not showing me whoever's on. I guess the live stop for Instagram. I'm not sure what's going on here. What happened? I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on here, but it seemed to drop off of Instagram. But either way, we're going to keep it going. On to the next one. I'm guessing this might be John. I don't know. But either way, appreciate your comment. All taxes except tourist taxes. Like, well, then that would have to be monstrous, and then that would probably deter tourists, right? Because at the end of the day, it's not getting any cheaper to live here. And that actually segues perfect into our next news story, because we're going to talk about cost of living. And the study here, this study that I found, to me, is kind of like wild. Like, oh, here we go. I got him. Yep, it was John. This study here is kind of wild. So I'd really like to know what you guys think about this study. I'll share my screen. Let's go. Oh, that's not it. Well, we'll go back to this. All right. So WalletHub, Florida ranks number 16 in states that spend the most on groceries, WalletHub study says. Eggs, bananas among the cheapest items for Florida shoppers compared to other states. So it says that we're number 16. This is what I can't believe this. I just went to Costco and we bought probably 10 items. And obviously you're buying bigger stuff at Costco. We spent $200, and this is me, my wife, and 2 dogs. So the average amount that Floridians spend on groceries for a family of 4 is $120 per week. Where? I can't believe that for a second. Like, I mean, if I'm meal prepping my meals, That's $4 at least a meal. Let's just say $5 for easy math. Let's say I have 2 meals a day, 14 meals. So what? We're looking at $90 just for meal prepping those 14 meals for a week for just me. There's no way it's $120 a week for a family of four. There's just no way. I mean, like I said, I literally just got back from Costco, and we spent $200. And I can tell you, um, I bought 4-pack of steak, which was like $70, which not happy to buy that. We bought some lobster ravioli in the bag. We bought big party tray of wings. What else? That's it bars. Really didn't buy that much. Bread, potatoes, like basic stuff, and we spent $200. So like that's just me and my wife. I have a hard time believing that a family of four is spending $120 a week on groceries. Not at Publix. There's no way, right? There's no way. What do you guys think about this? $120 seem like a little bit to you, a lot to you? It seems like a little low to me. Maybe like $220. That would make more sense. We got Jimmy Brownette, and every time he comes on here, I have no idea what he's talking about, which is fine. I appreciate the engagement, Jimmy. The Bartola Street area, Heron Street, the 7-Ups movie, Neon 19. Sure. Yep. Hey, bro. Greetings from Gambia, Africa. Interesting. Okay, well, let's see. Who wrote that? Christopher. Christopher 125434, and his name is Simon. Okay. Well, thanks for being here, Christopher. You're looking to move from Africa? That's pretty interesting. It's not a large demographic of like people move, like at least from my YouTube channel, from what I can tell. Most of the people that are moving here from Canada, which is interesting, or at least watching my videos. So see someone from Africa is really interesting. Either way, appreciate you being here. Let's go on to the next news stories here, guys. I want to finish up as early as possible. But this one is no surprise to me, but Florida destination named among most affordable cities in the U.S. for 2025. And can you guess? It's Jacksonville. So according to a list compiled by the Visual Capitalist, the most affordable city in Florida is Jacksonville. The city was also named among the 25 most affordable cities in the country. So I think they're talking about just metropolitan areas, but they're talking about rent, utilities, phone bills, life insurance, health insurance, cable and internet, auto insurance, auto loan, alarm, and security, to name a few necessities. And that payment comes out to $2,164 a month. Once again, I mean, listen, Jacksonville is really affordable. When you're looking at Jacksonville versus pretty much any other major metropolitan area, Jacksonville's, especially in the state of Florida, it's going to win out in terms of affordability. And insurance is going to be cheaper up here in northeastern Florida. The homes in general are cheaper. I imagine most of our groceries are cheaper than the rest of Florida. But $2,164 is, and no, like rent at a minimum is like $1,800 here for a 2-bedroom. Like maybe 15, 16, maybe. Okay, so you have 15, 16, let's say 1,500. And then you're going to say that utilities, phone bill, life insurance, health insurance, cable and internet. Cable internet, let's say that's $100. Auto insurance, let's say that's $150. So we're at $250. Auto loan, average auto loan $700. So we're blowing past this already. We're at like $2,400 right now. And then phone bill, extra, let's say $100. Utilities, extra 200, 300. Like we're at like $3,000 right now. So I don't know who's putting these studies together. I just don't get it because they're getting their numbers. I don't know. I'm not living lavishly. I live a pretty normal life. So I'm trying to keep all those expenses as low as possible. So there's no way. Like there's just no way. Is it one of the more cheaper cities? And it is the most affordable metropolitan area in the entire state of Florida. The cheapest city in Florida to live in is going to be Palatka, which is about an hour from Jacksonville south. So either way, what do you guys think about that? Let's see. We got someone looking to move from Long Island. Sorry, I wish Instagram would pull over. 7GLS7 looking to move from Long Island. I've helped plenty of people move from Long Island. Seems that there's a little bit of an exodus there. Last people I helped moved here from Long Island. Well, I guess they're moving half the year until they sell their house up there. They probably do that in the next couple of years. They were saying how just the whole neighborhood has changed, like just completely different than what they remember and why they moved there in the first place. So I don't know if that's what you're experiencing. Love to know why you're looking to move from Long Island. All right. Side note: tons of New Yorkers, tons of people from New Jersey here. Like half the people here are probably New York or New Jersey refugees, we could call them. All right, on to the next news story here, guys. All right, so this is something I covered the other day. And if you're interested in buying a new construction home and you want to be between Jacksonville, between St. Augustine, this place is E-Town, right? So David Weekley's building in there as of right now. They have Toll Brothers that are building some townhomes in there. And I think that's it for now. But this is something that I think is going to take that neighborhood and make it, I mean, to have a surf park in there, I'm not sure if there's any studies of any other neighborhoods that have a surf park, but I can almost guarantee that that type of amenity is going to draw a different type of person to this area that has money and that enjoys surfing and wants to be able to do that very conveniently. And, you know, our area is, it's good for surfing, but it's not great for surfing, I would say. I don't know much about surfing. I'd love to be able to actually have lessons paid for. I want to go give it a shot because it's always looked like something fun to do. But having this in your backyard, if you're able to like, hey, I'm going to go catch a wave, and you know that every single time the wave is going to be amazing. You don't have to wait on anything. I think that's going to attract a certain type of person, and there's nothing like it in northeastern Florida. There's no other surfboard wave parks like this in northeastern Florida. Either way, that got approved. So final approval for Jacksonville Surf Park, and it's going to be in E-Town, and it's going to be a wave generating lagoon. This is awesome. I think this is going to be such a cool thing for the area. And if you are a surfer, and E-Town, pretty much the pricing in E-Town starting at like $600, $650. If you're looking for the townhomes, maybe you get one at like $550, I think, but they're still pretty expensive up there. But you get all the amenities of like what a master plan community would have, as well as being like just off you literally are right off 295. So getting anywhere in Jacksonville is extremely easy from that location. It's in the southeastern part of Jacksonville, which is pretty much developed, and there's really only two master plan communities being built right now, which is Seven Pines and E-Town. And Seven Pines is about $100,000 more expensive than it's north of E-Town. So I think this is awesome. I'm really stoked for this. I think it's going to be a good thing for the area. So it looks like this is the Instagram user here. This was 7GLS7. They're saying looking into moving closer to family. Is Dreamfinder community in St. Augustine a good place to raise a family? So if you bought a Dreamfinder house, go ahead and leave your comments below. I've helped several people buy Dreamfinders houses, and there's tiers of builders, right? So I would say like Dreamfinders, Lennar, D.R. Horton, Richmond American, they're all going to be at like the production level tier. So for the most part, they're going to be building like entry-level homes or starter homes. Now, Dreamfinders is kind of like a bridging the gap. Like they build homes at like the 400,000 level, and they also have homes in like the 700 to $1 million levels. So depends what community you're talking about, because I think they have it right now like 5 different ones here. But any community that Dreamfinders is building in right now, I would 100% buy in. I like their product the most out of all the builders I just listed there in the production category. I think they have the best finishes, the best details. From my experience with them, if you're building from lot, the process is not as well streamlined as it would be with like a D.R. Horton or a Lennar. But I think the end product is better all day long. Just from the feel of the floor plans, the styles of the kitchens and the selections. I just think it's a little nicer. But the process is not something that they have as well oiled as some of the other builders. That being said, they have tons of move-in ready homes where you don't need to even worry about the process. You don't get to pick anything like your cabinets or your backsplash or your tiles, whatever. You don't get to pick anything, but the house is spec'd out. They're normally done by like a designer, so they always look pretty good. And you can close in 30 days. And those are the ones that they give you the best deals on. Like, so I think right now I think they are doing a 4.99 rate for FHA VA and a 5.5 rate for conventional loans. So depends what neighborhood you're talking about. But pretty much any neighborhood I would feel really comfortable with buying with Dream Finders in. And then, if you want to use me, fantastic, but just get an inspection. Just do it. Please get an inspection, because these guys are building any builder. This is any builder you're looking at. If it's a high-end builder, if it's a D.R. Horton Lennar builder, whatever, a middle tier, get an inspection, because these guys are building hundreds, if not thousands, of homes in the area. They're subbing out other contractors to do stuff. Things get missed, right? And having an inspection is going to be your best defense, right? Because you have a third-party person who knows a little bit more about housing than you might, and they give them this full report like, hey, I found all these things, and this is not right. And the builder, in 99% of situations, is going to take care of that whole list because they want you to be happy. So, any other questions, just reach out to me directly. Really appreciate you being on the live here and engaging. But I like Dreamfinder's stuff. I think they put out a really good product. Their end product is probably one of my favorites out of the production level builders. And all their communities are in good locations that everything around it provide, like whether it's the amenities within the neighborhoods, like they have Trailmark, they have Beacon Lake, they have Cordova Palms, they have stuff in Silverleaf now. And all of those locations are like prime areas, right? So any other questions, I'd love to help. Just let me know. We're going to get on to the next news story here. I only have one more, right? One more, and that's going to be it for the night, guys. So if you have any questions about anything, any comments about what I covered, fire them off. Okay, wait. Nope. That's not it. This is what I wanted to cover here. So this happened last year. I don't think I'm going to go this year because I got a baby on the way and we're getting into crunch time. She's due April 2nd. But Florida Man Games returns this weekend. Oh my God, these ads, man. Okay. Well, Florida Man Games is returning. And if you're not familiar with what Florida Man Games is, they just started it last year. So it's a relatively new type of festival. So last year they had like evading the police, where they actually like brought police officers on, and I think they like oiled up, like you had to oil, and you could just volunteer. Like it's pretty small right now, so like if you just want to like compete in the games, I'm pretty sure it's like just walk in essentially. But they like oiled the guy up, and like the police had to grab, so it was like evade the police for obstacle course. They also had something like where they had to, because these are all like Florida Man stories, like Florida Man this week did this. There was like one where they had to toss like an alligator through a drive-through window, or a simulation of that. They have a whole bunch of games like that. It's a fun time, it's more or less just to hang out and go see something a little bit different. But they have those coming for the second year in a row. And that'll be in the next, I think that's in April or the end of March. Could be wrong. Let me just double check here just so I don't give you the wrong information. March 1st. Okay, so March 1st. Let me share my screen here. Round 2 of the Florida Man Games. And it looks like they're going to have it in a whole bunch of different areas. I didn't even realize that was a thing. So let's see what they got. Yeah, if you're on Instagram at all, this guy's pretty funny, Florida influencer. Not sure who he is, but evading arrest obstacle course, weaponized pool noodle mud duel, eat the butt challenge, so they got to eat a pork butt platter, Florida sumo cage match and beer chug, hurricane party prep, grocery aisle brawl. That's actually hilarious. Human beer pong, and Florida woman bonus challenge. So I think that it seems like a really fun event. Unfortunately, I'm gonna be going to Puerto Rico here because I got to finish up my condo before this baby comes. Because if I don't, then it's just going to be costing me money and sitting empty, and I don't want that. So I want to get it done um, before the baby comes. So I'm going to be out of town next week. Is what it is, guys. So, any questions about what we covered here, guys? Leave me in the comments below. I'll get to them as soon as I can. Obviously, we're hopping off here for the night. So, here every Wednesday at 8 p.m., going over the market stats, the news you need to know about, or thinking about buying, selling, or investing here in northeastern Florida. And we're also doing a Q&A. So, you have any questions about like what Dream Finders is like, what are their neighborhoods like? I can answer them live here. And I'm not, there's no time delay. I was actually a little late today, my mistake. But either way, here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. for you guys. So I'll catch you next week. Well, I might be gone next week. So I'll try to do it from the Puerto Rico condo. We'll see. I forgot my charger the last time. The worst. So either way, guys, I'll see you next week or maybe the week after or another time. See ya.